Now, the family of US-Israeli hostage Edan Alexander are counting down the hours until they can see the 21-year-old again. Hamas has announced that they will release the last American hostage in Gaza. Now, Edan was kidnapped on October 7, 2023, 583 days ago. Now, if we believe Hamas, he's expected to be released on Tuesday local time. And this is the same day that Donald Trump will begin his tour of the Middle East. The US president has praised the move, posting that this was a step taken in good faith towards the United States and the efforts of the mediators, Qatar and Egypt, to put an end to this very brutal war and return all living hostages and remains to their loved ones. So that release supposedly being done as a gesture of goodwill after 583 days after the terror attacks of October 7. But who can seriously trust the word of Hamas or its backers? We're joining me now, Sky News contributor Kosha Garda. Kosha, good to see you. Look, there's now reportedly pressure for Israel to reach some sort of deal with Hamas. And in my view, this absolutely cannot happen. It needs to eliminate the terror group. And I mean, even Albanese says this: Hamas cannot have a role in the future governing of Gaza. So are you concerned with how Trump is approaching this ongoing war, or do you think let's just continue to give him the benefit of the doubt and perhaps this is just another negotiating tactic?
It is very concerning, Sharri, and great to be with you as always. This is obviously very great news, even though many could say it's too little too late. But for this particular hostage, for Edan Alexander, I can only imagine what he and his family are feeling and that he's being released. I don't love the framing of it as a gesture of goodwill. I agree with you there. It's hard to say those words given the time that's elapsed and everything that's happened. But I think just the negotiating strategy that the Trump administration is taking, he's going there. It's going to be his first trip to the Middle East as he's elected. He wants to have it sort of be buoyed by a positive theme or thematic around that. I think this was part of the negotiation to get this hostage released before his trip. So he's using all of that to kind of give this veneer, if you will, of goodwill and give it a chance. But the fundamentals of the issue there, where Israel stands, where the U.S. stands, and what Hamas is, hasn't really changed, even with these small wins. And because of that, I just find it a little bit difficult to see how the story is going to necessarily shift course. But we shall see. Only time will tell.
I have to say, I mean, just sitting here, I do feel quite disappointed. I mean, you remember when the president was in his election campaign and before he took office, and he said, you know, within, I can't remember the time frame, within 48 hours or a week or whatever it was, he said, if every hostage is not released, there will be hell to pay. That's what he said. He said he will unleash hell. Well, that never happened. The hostages haven't been released. So I don't know. I do think there's an incredible disappointment here. And if you're going to make those threats as President of the United States, well, what happens when you don't follow through? You lose your authority and your credibility. Anyway, Kosha, he's meanwhile set to accept a $400 million US Boeing 747 gift from the Qatar royal family. And this jumbo jet may even, at least temporarily, replace Air Force One. Again, very lavish, extremely lavish gift. Should he accept this?
You know, I don't love this one, I have to say. And it's a little bit off-brand for Trump because he, as an example, is the only president in history who hasn't taken the salary that he gets at something like $500,000 US. It's not a small amount of money even for somebody as rich as he is, and he does not accept that. He donates it to different causes, just as an example. So this kind of feels off-brand from that. His whole thing is that he's a self-funded billionaire and he's not beholden to anybody and he doesn't take donations from anybody, let alone from the Qataris. What they will say, the administration is saying, and the press secretary addressed this earlier today, is it's legal within whatever the rules are of accepting gifts. It's not going to him personally. It stays with the White House. It might be donated to his library later, so on and so forth. But it's not a great look. I think he's using it to show up the fact that the U.S. and Boeing have been very slow to get upgrades done on Air Force One, but all of that just doesn't make sense. And the idea of Air Force One being a Qatari plane is something that I don't think actually sits very well with even a lot of people on his base, to the extent that they're paying attention.
Then on the trade deal with China, there also seems to be negotiations ongoing. US Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent has confirmed that there's going to be a 90-day pause on the tariffs. They may be decreased as well. Kosha, where's this up to?
So they've just finished 2 days of negotiations in Geneva. Supposedly, reportedly, they've reached agreement to a term sheet, so at least the outlines of a new deal. We don't know much more about the specifics. They're going to do a joint press conference tomorrow with senior officials from both the U.S. and China, where we'll get some more details, or so we expect. So I think it's in the right direction. At least the rhetoric that's coming out from both China and the U.S. seems to be positive, that they've reached some kind of alignment. They're finding common ground. Neither country, biggest trading partners in the world, want to live in a world where there's 150% plus tariffs. It doesn't make sense in the long term, but it was definitely a negotiating tactic to try and recalibrate the trade deficits, and it looks like some headway has been made, and we should learn more tomorrow.
All right, and we'll update you on the show tomorrow. Kosha Garda, thanks so much.